When it comes to Pokemon, we can all agree that the most iconic item is the Pokeball. Many up to this day wonder how this device really works, and have proposed many interesting theories. There is a large amount of variance when it comes to Pokeballs, ranging from a simple Pokeball to the Master Ball that can catch any Pokemon without fail, and even Pokeballs targeted to specific Pokemon such as a Net Ball or a Heavy Ball. But when did humans come up with such a device, and what was their main reason? Well, join me as we try to unfold the history of the Pokeball. It is very difficult to pinpoint the first Pokeball. There are contradictions among different phases of the franchise, such as the games, anime, and manga. They share valuable information, and I will be referencing them all so that you guys may understand their position when it comes to the lore of Pokeballs. Starting with the games, they have the least amount of information but have made contributions to the lore. We know that they are mass-produced by factories, and officially we know of two large corporations that produce them, Silphco and the Devon Corporation. Recently we learned that the Ether Foundation is responsible for the creation of the Beast Ball, but no other Pokeballs have been mentioned. The first time we learned about the lore of Pokeballs was in the games back in Generation 2. Johto introduced the concept of apricorns, and it was explained to us that these were the first forms of Pokeballs. The concept was simple. Fruit was collected, then hollowed out, and attached a device that will enable you to catch a Pokemon. Kurt is the only known character that still knows how to make Pokeballs this way, as the techniques have been passed down through his family. In the different universe of the anime, we got to see a young Professor Oak using these type of primitive Pokeballs, suggesting that the modern Pokeball we know of were not yet available, or perhaps too expensive for just anyone to own. Fast forward to Pokemon Black and White 2, and here's where we learn something interesting from Drayden's memory link. Quote, "What is important is your mental preparation as the champion, Iris. When I was little, Pokeballs didn't exist yet. Sometimes Pokemon would run away from awful trainers who didn't try to understand them." End quote. We don't know officially what Drayden's age is. However, most seem to agree that he is portrayed as an older male, perhaps over 50 years old. After all, he is referred to as Grandpa by Iris. Here's where we start running into problems though. Both Professor Oak and Drayden could make accounts that the Pokeballs did not exist during their childhoods, suggesting that the modern Pokeballs are less than 50 years old. But how do we explain a Pokemon like Magearna, who is part of the games, and it's obvious to us that her design is based on a Pokeball? But the most intriguing part is that according to the Pokédex, this Pokemon was created over 500 years ago. Well, for that we're gonna have to move on to the anime. But before I do, there's one more piece of lore in the games that I want to talk about in regards to Pokeballs. The next lines of text combined with more evidence that I will be presented later suggest that there is a darker side of Pokeballs, one that implies how their sole purpose is to gain control over powerful creatures and submit them to the trainer's will. Remember, Drayden claims that at one point Pokemon were able to run away from awful trainers, and the Pokeball has made it more difficult to do just that. Lucian is one of Sinnoh's Elite Four member. He loves reading, and at points you might find him in the Canalev library, where he would read you some of his favorite articles. One of them talks about Pokeballs and gives us specific reasons why Pokeballs are round and not any other shape. Quote, "One article addresses the question why Pokemon would go into a Pokeball. According to this article, this behavior is based on an instinct. A weakened Pokemon will curl up tight in an effort to heal itself. The Pokeball was invented to take advantage of that protective instinct." End quote. Now we know why for the most part throwing a Pokeball to a fully healed Pokemon does not work, and why everyone in the Pokemon world is encouraged to weaken the Pokemon first to take advantage of their instinct so that they may stay inside a Pokeball. But now of course let us move on to the anime and see what we can learn about the history of Pokeballs there.
That is correct, and I have the knowledge you seek about the Stone Pokeball. The legend of the Great Pokeball has been passed down since olden times here in the Valley of Destruction.